The youth in the affected towns of Garu and Timpani in the Upper East region want the Ministry of National Security and the Ghana Armed Forces to offer an unqualified apology for the brutality meted out to civilians in the two districts. They are also demanding a full-scale investigation into the incident. Emmanuel Isaka spoke on behalf of the youth.
These unprofessional military men claim that some alleged foreign national security operatives who were in Garu on an official assignment bare-faced falsehood peddled by the Ministry of National Security. Ladies and gentlemen, permit us to set the record straight on some falsehood and half-truth peddled by the Ministry of National Security in their 29th October press release. 1. The Ministry of National Security claimed that the irate youth attacked the vehicle when the officers were seated in the Land Cruiser vehicle with registration number GS 7520-22, which was removed and kept aside the vehicle. This is not accurate. The record should reflect that the officers were not in the vehicle, but rather inside the police station at the time the unknown assailants fired gunshots into the vehicle. The claim by the Minister of National Security that the officers sought refuge at the Garu police station is wholly inaccurate, and yet another attempt to create disaffection for the people of Garu and Timpani. It was rather the vigilant youth who requested that the claimed officers go with them from their hideout to the police station to authenticate their identity.
Now, for the latest on this development, our Upper East Regional Correspondent Albert Story joins us via Zoom with more. We're also joined on Zoom by security analyst Dr. Adam Bonaa. Grateful to you for joining us here. Now, let me start with you, Albert Story. What's the latest on the arrest? Have they been released?
No, they haven't been released. We've been talking to the residents and even the district chief executive for Timpani to, find out whether they have been released. The information we have is that they haven't yet been released. The DC was hopeful that by the end of today, he will get an update on that because he was communicating with the one of the heads of the military in the area who was giving him updates as to the condition in which the arrested people were. And the assurance he was given was that they are in good condition. But as at this evening, there was no information as to whether they will be released or not.
What about the general situation in the two areas?
A lot of the people are angry about what has happened. If you look at it, they beat up so many people. More than 30 or 40 people, were beaten up and hospitalized, and they only ended up arresting 8 people. Now, for the rest of the people that you beat up and got hospitalized, you did not arrest any of them or charge them for any crime whatsoever. So what were the beatings for? These are the questions that many of the people of Garu and Timpani are asking. And that is why if you look at the press conference that they held, a lot of them were angry. In fact, some of them came to the press conference with their injuries, just to show us that something needs to be done about it. But looking at the reactions that are coming from Parliament, I'm sure it will help calm them down a little bit.
Okay. But do we still have military men in the area?
Well, none that we know of. The regional minister, Stephen Yakubu, was in the area 2 days ago to find out what was going on there. He wanted to see the victims for himself and to also give them some assurances that government was doing something about what had happened.
Okay.
One of the assurances he gave them was that for those people who are afraid of coming back to their homes for fears that the soldiers will return, he was giving them the assurance that the soldiers were not going to come back and do anything to them, so they should return to their home.
All right, let me bring in Dr. Adam Bonaa. Doc, you have, been been around for some time. You've been aware of these situations for some time now. What do you think was the fundamental thing that went wrong? The people say they could not believe that these people were national security personnel, and that's how they attacked them. So what was the fundamental thing that went wrong that brought about all of this?
Well, good evening. Fundamentally, it was just failure on the part of our national security to do their work as expected. Because then if you are going into an area that is seen to be very volatile, the entire area is so volatile to the extent that you have the national security come out with a slogan that says that if you see something, say something. And so if young people see a Land Cruiser that is tinted in the dark and they accost the Land Cruiser, and there is some altercation, I want to believe that the right thing for anyone who understands how these things are done is to have investigated what actually took place. But to say, well, the national security operatives, in the first place, I am told reliably with the images I have, they were in mufti. They had some submachine guns, some sidearms. And so mine is that at what point are citizens supposed to see something and say something? That is one. Two, let's say if the citizens there, let's say some people took the laws into their own hands. Does that presuppose that the state would also take the laws into its own hands and with impunity and go and brutalize everybody they see on sight? And I am still asking, under what law is the national security operating? Because the last time I checked, as far as I'm concerned, the national security doesn't have arresting powers. They don't have prosecutorial powers. So these people they are detaining, it is illegal. It will amount to false imprisonment because then if you have arrested them, which court are you going to present them to? We know under our laws, you are not supposed to detain people even in police custody for more than 48 hours without referring them to a court of competent jurisdiction. So for me, if you ask me, I will say everything surrounding what we are seeing in Garu, Timpani, and the Bugri area, and some of the things we have seen amounts to serious impunity and illegality, to say the least.
Now, this whole altercation between the security setup and civilians is becoming one too many. How do we deal with it? Because we've seen Ashaima, we've seen what happened in the Boko area, and this. What must we do to tackle it?
What we need to do is a lot of advocacy, a lot of interaction, and ensuring that we use our brains instead of our biceps. Because for me, if there is something goes wrong, little altercation, officers are sent in to go and beat people. You end up radicalizing people. And this is what culminated into Boko Haram becoming what they've become in Nigeria. Using force in trying to, clamp down people in this manner ends up radicalizing people. And so I think that there has to always be dialogue instead of using brute force. Brute force has never worked. Why didn't we send them to Niger? We should have sent them to Niger.
Because we haven't had an agreement. We haven't had an agreement in terms of ECOWAS on that. So that we can use brute force. But we decided as a state or as a sub-region that let's use dialogue. So why can't we use dialogue? To make sure these things, we are able to bring them calm nerves. But when the little altercation, little misunderstanding, we send men in uniform, guns, people get brutalized, forced in prison. What is happening? I will tell you, it amounts to kidnapping of these people. Under which law have they detained them? Which law? Show me. Which law are they detaining these people? They literally have kidnapped them. Because then you can't keep them. You have to release them to the police. I have checked with the police in the region and all over. Where are they in the custody of the police? And when I checked in the region everywhere, they said they are not in their custody.
So in whose custody are they?
Thank you very much, sir.
I think that we need to be a bit worried.
Okay, Dr. Adam Bonaa, I'm grateful to you for joining us tonight here on the Joy News Prime. Now, relatedly, residents of Pankrono and Adabraka Zongo in the Ashanti region say they live in constant fear of possible reprisal clashes between the youth of the two communities. A fight that resulted in 1 fatality and 2 injuries a fortnight ago was an effort to avenge another death that occurred 2 years prior. 4 people have been taken into police custody in connection with the recent incident, but residents are requesting increased protection to prevent reprisals. Nana Boachi Yadom Dankwa has been chasing the story and joins us via Zoom now with more. Nana, what more do we know?
Well, Brace, what we know right now is that some 4 persons have been arrested. The court will sit on the matter on the 8th of November. Definitely would have to bring you updates as to what goes on in court. But then the residents living in Pankrono and Adabraka say they live in fear, and hence the call for security in these 2 communities, and that the clash happened not long ago. You see, 1 person unfortunately lost his life, 2 others got injured. And for now, we can say as a matter of fact that the community is not really safe for these residents. Hence, the intensive call for security in the community. But as at now, we know that 2 persons have been remanded, and the police are still chasing others. And at the end of the day, they promised me that they will still get others, some other corporates, and bring them to book.
Okay, but can we report that the police is present in the communities because the communities are saying that there could be this reprisal?
Well, Grace, for our inspection, I can say that we did not see any policemen patrolling in these 2 communities. We went to both Adabraka and then we went to Pankrono. We did not see policemen in these 2 communities. So I think that, yes, that is why these residents are hereby calling for intensive security in both communities over fear of a possible reprisal.
Have we heard from the police?
No, we haven't heard from the police. They tell me that investigations are still going on, but then officially, they are not out with any statement whatsoever.
All right, grateful to you. Nana Boachi Dankwa Yadom.